Our group is confirmed by 3 people: Camila Andrade, Laura Restrepo, and Jan Newton Maturana. Before we answer the question about the curriculum guidelines, we are going to explain the importance of teaching English in Colombia. English should be taught in Colombia because it's seen as an important language. Second, because it's required to know it for a job. Third, it helps to open new doors. Fourth, the person that knows English can help others learn this language. From the cognitive and psycholinguistic view, it allows the student or person to get a greater maturity of a language skills. However, we must first understand the function of cognitive and psycholinguistic process involved in learning. Many people in our country, due to little contact with the language, practice with an American or a stranger because they are afraid or ashamed that they don't know the language. Okay, now how can we update the curricular guidelines to reflect the new language ecologies our students are facing inside and outside of the classroom regarding English? These curriculum guidelines can be reflected in the new language ecologies inside and outside the classroom by interactive methods so the students can learn easier. Another way is by using technological peak media such as computers, video vid, and slideshows. However, another way the curriculum guidelines can be updated is by taking into account the learning spaces in which students can learn better and also assimilate learning. One reason for this is because students can get distracted very easily. At the same time, we must create some kind of ideas of multimodality, but this should be created in an innovative and more understandable way to improve the learning. However, the curricular guidelines can be also updated by teaching content in English, using strategies and techniques that makes the content comprehensive to the second language learner. Some of the new strategies that can be used to update the curriculum guidelines can be digital media, bibliographical aids, and some examples are documents, texts, and written analysis. Now let's talk about the techniques. The techniques that can be used to update the curricular guidelines is the inverted class and the design thinking. First, the inverted class, it encourages the preparation of lessons. This way students attend class with basic knowledge on the subject of study and also offers the possibility to answer questions and dive into issues that generate more curiosity in students. And the design thinking, which is a method that talks about using real cases as examples and ask students to solve the problem in a group, analyzing the situation and offering creative ideas. The goal of this technique is to prepare students for the real world, having in mind their analytical skills and creativity to find solutions. A third technique can be the one of self-learning, curiosity, because it's the main driver of learning. As a basic principle of learning, it makes little sense to force students to memorize a test to forget it in 2 days after the test. The key is to let students focus on the area that interests them to actively explore and learn about it. A closer way to explore self-learning technique may be using mind maps. With them, the teacher can start thinking process by typing a word in the central node of a map, or propose a theme and let students develop their own ideas from it. For example, if the theme is the human body, some can create mind maps on systems and devices, others on bones and other diseases that affect the human body. Then students will be evaluated according to the mental maps that have been created and could work together to improve them. To add to this, another technique that can be used when updating the curricular guidelines is the games, because the use of games is a method that has already been explored by some teachers, mainly in a primary and preschool education. By using games, the students learn with virtually not notice. Therefore, learning to play is a learning technique that can be very effective at any age, being also useful to keep the student motivated. However, when the teacher is teaching the students with games, he or she should design projects that are appropriate for the students, taking into account their age and also knowledge, while making them attractive enough to provide extra motivation. One idea may be to encourage students to create tests with questions related to a particular topic and to encourage them to challenge their peers to do them, to see who gets a higher score. In this way, students will enjoy the competition with their peers to achieve the highest score. To add to these techniques, another technique that can be is the use of flashcards, because kids can learn better and they can have fun while learning a new language. And not only that, when kids use flashcards to learn, they are learning words and the description of a picture.
To update the curricular guidelines, it's important to consider the students' process because through all this we can see their progress. To this we can use methods and approaches that help to refuse and improve in the knowledge of the language. For example, English audio, interactive movies, and interesting topics that helps the student to try be going deeper in the vocabulary. It's sort of interesting topics and group tasks that the students will want trying of break the gaps that they're in the process to acquire a new language. Further, other method that we can have in account to update the curricular guidelines is the technological environment, which one is help instrument to get a new vocabulary, since the social networks sometimes push the students to learn unconsciously. In the classroom is through the writings and interactions with the students that the teachers began to update the guidelines that curriculum and helps them with any concerns they have. It is also true the students learn with pictures, so it is good for them pictures, videos and paintings, which they interpret through the ideas, in which he will see reflected learning and especially their imagination. For the current world, it's important to know that the students is sometimes very focused of modernity. Then he should try to understand by your tastes that is valuable for good management of English and its hearing process. All this helps to get creative ways to learn English, but mostly helps our students develop their listening, imagination, and creativity, that which helps them be motivated. Another way of doing different learning is through the discussions in open places where the students, for example, can speak, color the garden, walls of a house, or leaves of a tree that will expand your thinking process. Also, the stories of real life can be of great help in a student learning that there are many young people who like to read and especially like to then investigate, and the English do not learn as an obligation of the study is not taken as a fun temp that brings them to both life and process for the acquisition of a new languages. Letters may be another method to keep the students motivated because not only help to get good vocabulary but will help in reading, comprehension and writing, and very important to learn to speak in any language. This clears the mind of the students as takes to go to their memories. For such, write a letter to a cousin or a relative who is no longer. Music can also help. A lot of artists not only helps develop the ear, if not through imitation or letters, students retains the words that in the future can help with writing the sentences of any subject. The relationships with others also helps to update the guidelines of the curriculum, which today is much required for entrepreneurs because they have to constantly learn new vocabulary as much traveling and demands that make them their business is that they have is update, at least by the English. They're going to close business and will try to break the gaps that sometimes there with other cultures and nationalities. All this because the English is what moves the world, and therefore it leads many boys and girls learn from all years, as it is the time when they are more likely to learn without pain and prejudice. Schools today are very aware of this and therefore to be more updated with the English. They put almost all subjects to be taught in English, and this helps the children to live with advanced English school for college. Even this not only helps grow up with an almost perfect English, but it helps to have more opportunities that currently institutions and companies require people who can speak the English 100%. And then this makes learning to date it becomes more competitive according to the standard of living you want the person. However, for good learning, it's important to know that the way to learn is different in age, and not all began learning from 0 years, since the opportunities that the one does not have another, and as this sometimes influence your way to learn, but also depends largely of the dedication of the person and his willpower to dedicate time and clear that the motivation that you put. Today are very aware of this as teachers know that the education in Colombia is very different from the rest of the country and therefore requires patience. that our level of reading and education is very low in comparison with other countries, as more still influence others trace that education itself. Therefore, the English is still an change for a lucky few, and that our students should know that English makes them more qualified and better achievements for the life. All this again to consider that for teaching English in the classroom is motivating. Students should be motivated to read, and above all they also have the opportunity to give their views. Equality as this often is not allowed in institutions that are exigent, demanding. For this, teachers must also be very updated and especially to know the weaknesses, skills and abilities of the students and their learning. All this helps in the good process of update the curriculum guidelines made inside or outside in the classroom.
In relation with the question, how can we update the curriculum guideline to reflect the new language psychology our students are facing inside and outside the classroom regarding English? In the personal thing that is important to recognize with objective of the educative institution in relation with English today. However, it's important that teachers use methodology necessary to teach in English to children that gain music, write, and read. In this sense of the curricular guideline is a compromise and settlement all. Also, is necessary to change the understanding the English in the classroom. Is to say, give way to autonomy and responsibility to students. Let instruction, oral repetition, and focus attention in teaching English the way simple. In effect, I think the education today is a great changes because the society is changeable too. Besides, it's fundamental to recognize that teaching English in the classroom is assumed stereotype about to learn English in the school beyond the important vocabulary, pronunciation, and grammar. For these reasons, obey curriculum guideline is made and to reflection the teacher your wants roles. In this sense, for teacher, the formation turn out to be some basics. In the same way, the method that you for teach and development your class and how is appropriate for them, keeping in mind that your student learn with great difference. Therefore, the technology is for the teacher a support tool your teaching and for the student learning tool that transform the learning process the way reciprocally. In addition, the role of the student refers to how They are regarded to their contribution uh, to the learning process and to their actions in the learning and teaching process. Finally, beside four of the curriculum guidelines, according Bastidas and Munoz, it's fundamental that teacher has clear idea or general idea about content and do use it in your course.